Thank you. And we are recording this public hearing. Got it. We are going to start now. It's just 6 o'clock straight up. Most of the attendance is with folks on Zoom. We do have Jeff Tardigias here in the audience. And thank you all for being available to be on this evening. I'm going to pass over the start of the public hearing to Craig Norman. For those of you that may not know me, I'm Priscilla Vargas. I'm the acting ADA compliance officer for RT. So, and thank you again for being on, and we'll turn it over to Craig.
Hey everybody, welcome to our meeting tonight. We're excited to be here. And as I said, my name is Craig Norman. I am the acting director of engineering and construction. And so I'm working with our RT team on procuring our new trains. As you know, our old fleet is getting very old. And so we're very excited about the opportunity we have of buying some new trains. We're going to tell you a little bit about these trains and why we're here tonight. First of all, as you're aware that you may be aware that our old fleet is called a high floor fleet, a high floor vehicle. And so if anybody needs assistance getting on the train, they have to go to the front of the platform to the mini high. We call it the mini high ramp. And they wait there. And when the train comes in, the operator comes out of the cab and opens up the door for them and puts down what's called a bridge plate to assist them onto the train. Well, with the new low floor vehicles, you can enter, there is no step up into the vehicle. What you do is you walk straight onto the train. We have a mock-up of a little bit, kind of a mock-up of a door and a bridge plate. So a little bit about the new trains is that anybody can access the bridge plate with a push of a button. So there's 4 doors on each side of the new vehicle. The 2 innermost doors have this bridge plate, which is what we're showing you here. The reason we're having this meeting tonight is that the bridge plate we're using is the same one that's being used on the San Diego vehicle. So we are doing a joint procurement with San Diego. So that means that we're getting the same car that San Diego is getting. Ours is going to be a different color. San Diego loaned us doors from their train. Their color of their train is red, but we have the same configuration. But let me tell you a little bit about the bridge plate. So the bridge plate, like I said, can be accessed. Hello? Can be accessed by pushing a button here on the door. When you push the button, the bridge plate opens and lands, then the door opens. Let me tell you a little bit about what our configuration is here. This is not exactly how the train is set up. This part that I'm standing on right now is on the inside of the train. The door is right in front of this yellow line here. Okay. So when a train comes up to the platform, it stops at the platform. A person on the outside can push the button. The ramp will deploy and land, and then the doors will open. Same goes on the inside. On the inside, there's the same button on the inside of the door in the same location. And we have a video that will show you in a little bit about how this works, okay? So you have to use your imagination a little bit, but this door is actually up here, would be right here in front of me. So the platform, the bridge plate comes out from the vehicle and lands on this platform. Right here, okay? So why are we here tonight? Well, the FTA has a requirement, it's a law that says that these bridge plates have to have a 2-inch lip on each side. All the agencies that started using this type of bridge plate with the lip were having accidents. People were tripping over them. So it was a tripping hazard. So agencies have written letters. They requested to modify the ramp. It's easier, by the way, to get a letter from the FTA saying it's okay to use a ramp than it is to actually change the law. So what San Diego did is about 10 years ago, they started using this specific bridge plate, and they asked for a letter from the FTA called equivalent facilitation, where they said, hey, we have this ramp and we feel that it serves the same purpose as the one with the required sides. And they gave the documentation, FTA reviewed it and wrote a letter of equivalent facilitation saying, yes, you may use this bridge plate on your system. We're using the exact same bridge plate, but here's the catch. The FTA gives a letter to a specific agency, okay? So San Diego has authorization to use this bridge plate. Now, since we're going to be using it on our system, we also have to have that same authorization, that same letter from the FTA. So in the process of writing our request for the letter from the FTA, one of the requirements is you need to make sure that you open this up to the public so the public can view it and we get public opinion and show that we presented it to the public and took their comments, if there were any, and concerns, and that we address those. Okay, so that's what we're doing tonight. So what we're going to do is twofold. So we're talking about the bridge plate, and we're also going to talk about the detectable warning tile. So this detectable warning tile, we use a similar detectable warning tile on our system. Ours is yellow, okay? And ours is yellow and it has these truncated domes. If you notice, this is a detectable warning tile that San Diego uses, a similar one where the center truncated domes have been removed. And the reason they did that is because when this bridge plate deploys, it lands on the bridge, on the detectable warning tile, and moves a little bit. And if it hits one of the truncated domes, they were having problems with the safety mechanism on the bridge plate stopping, and it would not keep extending. So they were having a problem with that. So San Diego wrote a letter to the FTA requesting to use this detectable warning tile that's missing, that has the removed truncated domes. There are concerns about that for the visually impaired community about it's a little confusing for them. So we're presenting this for public viewing as well. However, we have reached out to, we're doing some research on our own. We've reached out to 21 agencies throughout the United States, including VTA, UTA, and Metrolink, that are using this same type of bridge plate. But they also use a similar type of detectable warning tile, the same as what we use. And we're trying to find out, hey, are you having a problem with your bridge plate interfering with your detectable warning tile? So that's our first step, is to find out if anybody else is having the same problem. If they are, then we're going to investigate, well, how are some ways to mitigate it? One of the ways to possibly mitigate it is to use this modified detectable warning tile. It's not our final, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, right? But that's kind of the direction we're headed, what we're looking at, okay? All right, so I think what we'll do now is we will show a video of how this bridge plate works, so to give you a better idea of the actual mechanism. So Priscilla is going to show it on to the folks on Zoom, and I've got it queued up, Jeff. Oh, Jeff is technologically advanced. So he's already got it. So we're going to take a little bit of time to show that video. And Jeff, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it yet, but I'll just walk over there and maybe stand next to you while you look at it, if that's okay. Okay.
Okay. This is opening from the inside. From the outside. So you can hear me without my mic on.
Oh, do you have the sound off? No, I do.
I have my mic on, so I don't think they can hear me. The speaker. Yeah.
Also, something's wrong. It's fully deployed, but we don't know how we can use it. And that's great to say. You better open or close. Right.
I want to get out of this. Yeah, just trying to get out of this now. I'm going to stop sharing. Yep, we're good to go.
He's joining. I think he was joining on Zoom. Okay. So hopefully that kind of cleared up how the mechanism works. I think what I'll do at this point, I don't really have anything much more to explain other than I will say, I think as some information, you'll notice that I'm going to move this out of the way. You'll notice that when our team was putting together this display, that they made it so that this bridge plate lands on this platform, and the platform is 8 inches above what would be the top of rail. So they were very careful when they put this together. This is the actual level of that the train will be above the platform. So you can see there's a little bit of slope. Okay. Now you also notice that this is about an 8-inch platform, and the majority of our stations are less than 8 inches above top of rail. A lot of them are flat, even with the rail. So one of our other projects that we're working on, and we're going to be going into construction next year on, is we're going to go through and raise the boarding portion of our platforms to 8 inches above the top of rail, using concrete and railing and accessibility ramps, et cetera, from either end. So we're in the process of doing that. So that's just a little bit of information of another project that has to happen in preparation for receiving these new trains. Okay, so let's go ahead and open it up for questions. Let's see. So Jeff, you said you had some questions. So what I'm going to do is when you ask a question, I'll bring over the mic to you. Okay. And then I'll attempt to address your question.
Hi, my name is Jeff, and I use an electric wheelchair. So what interested in is the time that the ramp is going to take to deploy. Also the sound, if I judge that correctly, it's about 24 inches wide and about 40 inches the width of it. Is that correct? What are the dimension specifications on the ramp?
You're very close.
This is 22 inches and 36 inches. So it's 22 inches deep by 36 inches wide. That's how wide it is.
My second question is when and if it malfunctions, i.e., do I reset it? Does somebody reset it? What's the sound that does come out when it's obviously not coming out?
We'll have to check into that. There's not a sound per se when it malfunctions, but the operator will have to come and do a cutout on the ramp if that happens. Oh, okay. There's my technical team that knows everything. There is a. Vanna, do you want to come and? Yeah. Yeah, sure. You want to point out, or I'll be Vanna. You explain.
I just thought there would probably be a reset on there somewhere to, say, start over again,
Sure. So real quick, I'm George Kirbyson. I'm the LRV maintenance superintendent here at SAC-RT. So the way that the bridge plate is designed is if it encounters an obstruction during the path of its travel, it stops. And it's pressure sensitive, obviously. When something goes wrong with the ramp and it faults, two things will happen. One, you'll have a light that will light up on the door that shows that the ramp has got an issue. And the operator of the LRV will get an indication in the cab that there's something wrong with the ramp that prompts them to come out, reset the system, the ramp will retract and then drive back out. And then if it's not able to, if it's knocked out of alignment or for some reason can't be put in service, it'll be locked out and retracted manually into the train. So there's safety features there as well.
Again, this is Jeff. I've been on a train where I've had the operator tell me, it's not working. You're gonna have to wait for another train. Fortunately, you have more than one door to get in this. But I figured if it was out there, it might be in a position where a blind or an individual is not going to be able to reach and give any indication. So
Yeah.
So that was my concern is how hitting that button.
So that's one of the key benefits of the low floor car. Our current fleet right now, there's one ramp in each direction that's utilized. That is the limitation on how many folks with issues boarding the train on their own have to contend with, right? This, you'll have multiple options depending on how many cars we have in a consist, where you'll have a minimum of 2 doors per car that can be utilized. And it's all driven by the passenger. You don't have to wait for the operator to access the ramp for you. You can deploy it yourself. And it gives you a lot more options because you can board at any one of the cars in the consist. So if this ramp were to absolutely fail and not be available, there's one right next to it that would be available. So it's still
we have a hand up, Jeff, if you don't mind. I'm going to jump to Charles and then we'll come back to you. Okay.
Yes. So if a light flashes,
Charles, hold on a minute.
I better walk back.
Are you muted?
no. Can you hear me now?
Oh, hold on. Hold on. That's why I don't like doing that. Charles, would you mind repeating your question? Sorry.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Question. When the ramp failed, it said that there was a light that flashes and the operator is notified. How does a blind person know that something's wrong?
Yeah. So the question is that when the ramp fails and the light is lit, how would somebody who's visually impaired or blind be able to know that there is an issue?
So when the ramp is deploying, when the ramp is in motion, there's a sound that is accompanying the ramp deploying, and we have our featured a little bit different than San Diego. San Diego uses the same tone for the ramp deployment as they use for the door opening. We wanted to vary that so that there's a distinct sound when the ramp is in motion, apart from what the door sounds normally would sound like. If the door is driving, or if the ramp is driving and it encounters a problem, that beep or that noise that you're going to hear when the ramp is deploying will continue. And it will notify an external fault as well as the indication that the operator will get.
not working at all.
Yeah.
Push the button, you will get no indication.
Right. Yeah, if the ramp is out of service, in addition to the visual indication, you'll get no sound when you hit the button. So that will be another indication that the ramp is not in service.
Anything else from our Zoom audience right now, Priscilla?
Yes, another question from Charles.
Another question from Charles. We'll take Charles one more and then we'll go to Jeff again.
Okay, a follow-up on that. So when the ramp is deploying, there is a noise. And then once it's fully deployed, will the noise stop?
Yes.
Okay.
His question is, there's a noise when the ramp is deploying. When the ramp is fully deployed, does the noise stop? And the answer is yes, it does.
And
Okay.
then when the ramp is retracting, you'll also hear that same noise. That noise is to indicate that the ramp is in motion.
Right. So now the main point.
Okay, I do have another hand up, but Jeff, if you have a question, then we'll go to, because Jean Lozano, I believe, has a question, and Charles has another question as well.
Yeah, I just want
We'll take one. How about if we take one from Jeff and then Jean? How about that?
It's actually Jean Lozano. So
What do you want to take it from Jean right now?
Kathy, I have your hand up for Jean.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Jean. Thank you.
Okay. This is Eugene Lozano, and I am in my capacity representing the California Council of the Blind, the chair of its Committee on Access and Transportation. My question regarding the audible, which is sound, we agree with the sound, alternating sound for when the ramp is deploying and retracting. But if it goes out of order, rather than a different sound, it is our recommendation that you actually have a voice announcement coming out saying that the door is malfunction. Go to the adjacent door, either on your left or right. That will mean a lot to people getting that instruction. And we know it's going to be very seldom it will be activated, but having an actual voice, and it would be preferable that it be a female voice. Just like the voice that you have for various other announcements, for the interior announcements and exterior announcements on your light rail vehicles. And so to comment on that, and later on, I would like to comment on the wheel guard and feature as well as the detectable warnings. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, did you want it? So I think everybody on Zoom could hear Jean's comment, correct? I believe they should have.
On Zoom, yeah.
So Jeff, what Jean was suggesting or hoping is that if the ramp deploys and it malfunctions, that in addition to the light, that there be instead of the long beeping, that there actually be a voice announcement saying to you to instruct the passenger to try an adjacent door, left or right. So that's something that Priscilla is writing down, and we'll discuss whether or not that's an option with Siemens. Yep. Okay.
Okay, are we going to back to Charles? He still has his hand up.
Okay.
Go ahead, Charles.
And one other thing that I can add to that, actual, in addition to talking to Siemens, one of the options that we also are having on the new LRVs that we don't have on our current fleet is we have cameras that are going to be looking down both sides of the train with an operator display. So if the operator was in a station and a passenger had a problem with the ramp and the ramp alarm notified the operator that you have a problem with the ramp, it's going to tell them where it's at. And the operator can make an audio announcement on the outside of the train as well as the inside of the train that there's a problem with the ramp and that they're coming back to take care of it. So there's another level that we can utilize.
Yeah, thanks, George. That's a good point, that there will be an announcement that the ramp is not working.
Yeah,
very good.
Completely updated communication system in there. So it'll be good.
Okay, another question from, I think it's from Charles.
Go ahead, Charles.
Thanks. So it's along the same lines as you're discussing, if the ramp is deploying and it makes a noise and then it stops, how does a visually impaired or blind person know that the ramp is malfunctioning as opposed to the fact that it has deployed all the way and it's good to go?
Did you get that?
Yeah, the question that Charles is asking is that if somebody is visually impaired, and Priscilla will just, a lot of these, we're going to take the question to Siemens to find out what options there are. So the question is, if somebody who's visually impaired is waiting for the ramp to deploy and it's beeping and then it malfunctions, how do they know that it malfunctions? And the quick answer is that it won't stop beeping until it's in the right place. So if it's still beeping, it means it's not ready to be boarded, or that if it keeps beeping, then they'll know there's a malfunction, because it's not until it stops beeping that it's ready to be used.
And also the door beeping will not begin because the doors will not open until the ramp is fully deployed.
So the door will not open.
That's right. Yeah. So it's tied into the same control system as the doors. So once the ramp is fully deployed, it gives a signal to the doors, letting them know, okay, now you can open. So in that case, with the ramp stopped, you would never get the beeping from the doors because they wouldn't open because it's not fully deployed.
Okay, it looks like I have no other hands up at the moment.
Okay.
So I know that Jean had more questions.
How about if we go to Jeff for a second?
Okay, we'll go to Jeff. Jean will be right with you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jeff.
My question is inside indicating you want to get off. Right now, currently, the operator has to know for disability where they're getting off. How, when you're inside and knowing that pushing that button does not send a signal to the operator, how are you internally letting the operator know, I want off at the next stop? It's going to take me some extra time. You know, will there be that indication button? Or if you push open the doors when it's in there to indicate that you want to get out disabled in the train by pushing that button inside.
So there is a stop request button inside the train. And, we don't really have it here, but there is a stop request button similar to our system now. Then what happens is that there's no need to tell the operator they need extra time, because as soon as they push the ramp, it automatically puts into motion the whole cycle of the ramp, which is that while the door remains closed, the ramp comes out, lands, stops beeping, then the door opens, they leave the ramp, get off the ramp, then the doors close and the ramp retracts. It's however long it takes the person to get off, because if they're in the way of the doors will not, they may close this, they have a sensitive edge, so as soon as they hit them, it opens back up. From the time pushing the inside, you have any idea of the minute it opened the door? I don't know if we have the exact time, but we could time it on that based on that video. The video gives a pretty good, I don't know, 20 seconds.
I roughly, I think it's roughly 20 seconds. Yeah, it's.
Is that what it is? Okay.
I think it's about 20 seconds from what I recall. We can definitely put the exact timing on it.
And Priscilla's taking notes on questions asked, so we'll take a look. We'll be able to answer some of this. No, that's okay. That's a good question.
And then obviously similar to now, right? That whole sequence has to complete before the operator will get the ability to move the train. So all of that has to be satisfied before they can get a propulsion command and actually move.
Okay, do we want to take another? Did somebody else?
Jean has another question. Go ahead, Jean.
Yes,
Just a second, let me get up there so I can hear it.
This is Gene Lozano.
We got you, Jean.
I want to get to one of the two
It's manual.
items that you're trying to touch upon for this public hearing. And that is, right now, I'd like to touch upon the wheel guard, the 2-inch wheel guard on either side of the ramp. I do understand the concern about tripping. I don't want to minimize that. Though, on the other hand, even though I'm representing an organization of the blind, we do have many people with multiple disabilities that have low vision, and they also use wheeled mobility devices. And their concern is because of their depth perception times, little or no depth perception, that they really would prefer a wheel guard being outlined in the yellow, so that if they miscalculate, they don't go off the edge. That guard is the purpose is to keep them on the ramp. And this also helps people that have issues trying to keep their chair going in a straight direction. They can veer, and the guard can prevent them, even though it's only a few inches drop vertically and horizontally. But still, a drop like that, if you go off, you could tip and fall out and be possibly injured. And two, is there people just with visual impairments, or anyone in a crowd, you could be walking and kind of just accidentally step off to the side. So I guess the question is, what have have the risks substantiated the need for it from other transit districts? Have they found that by not having them, they have very few falls off these ramps by people, the general public, including the disabled? And had they looked at outlining that to be that yellow so that it stands out and gets the attention of people? And do you have any information right now about that? Thank you. And then again, I want to talk about other things later on, like the other people on this call.
Yeah, thanks. So Gene's concern, what he was asking about the removal of the sidewall, the 2-inch sidewall. And he had a few comments, like, for example, it would be helpful to have a yellow line on either side of the ramp to help people visually see how to be guided up onto the up the bridge plate. And there is a yellow line that goes basically around the perimeter of the bridge plate, and the line on either side of the bridge plate is about 2 inches in. So it's not just at the edge, it gives you a good 2-inch buffer. So that is something that is already integrated into the design of the bridge plate. Now, on top of that, I believe I don't think there are any agencies right now that are running the bridge plate with the 2-inch side. They have way more tripping from that 2-inch side wall than they do from the actual short amount of distance that the bridge plate is off the ground. So there are no, so all the agencies, any of the agencies that had it, they changed to this system. And the FTA has consistently given the letter of equivalent facilitation to be able to use that.
Can I just ask?
However, Priscilla did
about
note
that
in detail what Gene's comment was, so we'll make sure we address that as well. Okay, Gene?
Just a quick follow-up. Can you find out if that lip, those districts that were using the lip, was it yellow there so people could see it?
It's yellow.
Yeah,
It is
I
yellow.
know previously the guard, the 2-inch elevated lip, was it outlined in yellow? And
I don't believe
people
so.
still trip.
I don't know.
Please find out about that.
Okay. So So he wants to know if the side, yeah, it was yellow.
Oh, on the actual lip?
The lip, if it was yellow or not. We'll find out.
Okay, so Jean, I'm going to go to someone else and we'll come back to you because I know you said you had more questions. Gail Morgan has his hand up.
So I just came back a few weeks ago from Portland, Oregon. How close do these ramps resemble the ones in Portland?
We're having trouble hearing you. How?
He wants to know how close these ramps resemble the ones in Portland.
Okay.
I think they're the same ramp.
Yes, they are the same ramp.
So they only extend out about 6-8 inches
Hold
from
on.
the train car.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gail. I had you on mute.
I'm sorry. So they only extend about 6 to 8 inches out from the train car.
They only extend 6 to 8 inches out from the guard,
From the car.
No,
from the car. Sorry.
No, they come out.
22 inches. They drive out 22 inches from the side of the LRV.
Okay, so they're not.
That's the total travel of the ramp is 22 inches.
And that's required in order to maintain the proper slope.
Did you get that, Gail?
Yeah, apparently the car and sidewalk height are closer in Portland than they are here.
Apparently the cars and sidewalks are closer in Portland than they are here.
The cars and the sidewalks are closer?
Yeah.
Height wise.
Okay. Thanks, Gail. Jean, you had your hand up again? Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to go to the detectable warnings. I have a comment and then a question. First, I want to thank RT for loaning me the detectable warning for a period of time. And I found it to be very similar to the one that we were shown in 2013 to the Mobility Advisory Council's access and infrastructure. We understand fully the 7-inch flat surface without truncated domes in the center of the 24 inches. And in the case of the one that you have there, there's approximately 7.2 inch on either side of inline truncated dome pattern. And we understand, again, that for the deployment of the ramp to meet the letter of the law and for access for people with wheeled mobility devices, that you do need that flat surface. So that's not contested. Our issue is, just as it was back in 2013, is that by having that 7-inch or any flat, it could be 5 inches, it could be 4 inches, whatever it is there, it disrupts the detectability of the, or the effectiveness underfoot detectability of the detectable warning. That it acts as if you have two separate warning surfaces. And there wasn't then in 2013, nor is there now any existing research shows scientific independent research, objective research, that these surfaces are as equal or better than the 24 inches of continuous surface. There is studies that do show supporting the 24 inches, and it finds that if a detectable warning surface is only 6 inches wide, that's just truncated domes there, that only 29.6% of the time a person's foot will make contact with that surface. If it's 12 inches wide, 55% of the time, 1 foot might hit it. The 24 inches is 86.7%. The point is detectability, underfoot detectability. Somebody can be walking, might step on it, and then that surface and continue on. Before the next foot might come over and step over the next portion of the truncated domes. You could also have a scenario that the walking stripe that your foot ends making contact, that 1 foot on that 7 inches of clear flat surface, and don't pick up any truncated domes on either side. Our recommendation then, and still is, have your tile, but add at the leading edge, the platform side, widen it to 24 inches. So you have 24 inches of truncated pattern of domes. Then you have the flat surface of 7.2 inches. And then you have the other truncated domes of the 7.2 inches. This will then be consistency with the use of truncated domes throughout the system. You be certain that at least that you have 1 foot makes contact with it. And there's the safety. And we asked then and now that since you are going to be constructing a platform to be 8 inches above the ground, make it wide enough not only to ensure that there is clear 36 inches of clear space for a mobility device go down it without any interference, but that you have that whole truncated dome pattern widened so that it has that 24 inches of truncated domes just before you hit the flat surface to ensure the safety. I have talked to, this is anecdotal, it's subjective, it's users, blind and visually impaired users down in San Diego. And I'm finding the general comments, they often, most of them avoid using the light rail because of sometimes safety around the stations, but that the detectable warnings are not that effective and they don't feel comfortable about it, judging it. Yes, the transit districts have gotten letters of support, but it's not, people say, gee, it looks good to me, no problems. Another district's done it, fine, but no one has done the research. We asked for it, independent scientific research in 2013. RT was promised that we would be involved, members of the access infrastructure, to be involved in the development of the protocols for doing it, a formal research study. And then that would be the basis of going to the California Division of State Architect, which you have to go to first for equivalent facilitation before going on to the federal government to get their approval. I know San Diego may have bypassed the state of California, but they legally, under the California government code, have to go to DSA to get first equivalent facilitation before you go to the federal government, because you will have state dollars going into this, and therefore that triggers that requirement. So the question is, how will the blind and low vision community be more involved in this development of the design of the platform before anything is finalized? And are we looking at widen it and having a 24-inch wide detectable warning with your flat surface? Thank you.
We made a note of that, Gene. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions from you, Jeff? I'm not sure if Gene's done, but his hand is still up. So I wanted to just move on and.
I saw a picture in here, somebody.
That's Gene's wife.
Yeah, that's Kathy. That's Gene Lozano's wife. So we're monitoring over here. That's part of what we're up to doing here. So thank you. Okay, so let's just go one more time here and see if there are any more questions. Gene, you have your hand up. I don't see anyone else's hand up unless I've missed something here.
Yeah, one more question.
All right.
if I understand correctly, that all existing stations will have to go through, including the one up in Folsom, will have to have the construction of this 8-inch high platform to accommodate the system. Is that correct?
Yeah, Gene, that is correct.
Okay,
There are 4 stations on the south line that were recently constructed. Those are compliant with the 8 inches above top of rail. And then 2 others that are at 1/8 and H and Township 9. But all the other platforms throughout the system will need to be upgraded.
so, okay, so there are stations right now that are designed 100% for low floor light rail vehicles, you just said? There are a few?
Yeah, there's 6.
6? Okay, then,
I know where Township 9 is.
okay, I'll have to check that out. Are you considering, and this last question for this, are you considering maybe like the blue line, I believe that's the one going to eventually to the airport, putting your focus and making those totally low floor and then running these vehicles, the 20 of them and the future ones on these? In other words, starting line by line, making one just 100% accessible like this, so that then you won't have to have the mini platform because you won't be running the high floor vehicles down these. I was just wondering if that was seriously being looked at, rather than kind of interspersing the low floor with the high floor ones on all the lines. Thus, you're still having to have the mini platform and that issue of renovating the other platforms. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so Gene, yes, all the stations that are built after 2005 comply with the new low floor station platform. But we have to keep the mini high ramps in place until we have completely stopped using our existing fleet, which right now is projected to be right around the beginning of like 2031 or so. So another 10 years, we have to maintain the existing fleet and keep it in operation. And while the existing fleet is in operation, we have to have the mini high ramps.
So the 20 cars would not be adequate to run on one line?
You were cut off there, Gene. What were you asking again? Sorry. You said something about 20 cars? Hello?
So we're going to start off.
Dedicated to one line?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Gene.
Okay, we'll try it again.
Operator error here, sorry.
My wife is helping me. I have no idea how to do this. The 20, when you get in 2023, if knock on wood, that everything works out, that you get all 20 vehicles by that date, you couldn't put them all, sign them to one line and provide the service, and that whole line being low floor and not having a high floor in that?
Yeah, so what we're going to do, Gene, is the first vehicles are going to be dedicated to the gold line. That's why we're starting out with the station modifications to the gold line. But we can't remove the mini highs until we don't run any more of the old vehicles on that line. So we have to keep the mini highs in place until we don't run any more vehicles on that line. So that will be several years away before we have enough to run it exclusively on the gold line. But our plan is that, yes, as we retire the old fleet, we will get rid of the mini high platforms.
I don't see any other questions on Zoom. Does anyone have any other questions? Okay, then we're clear on the Zoom side. And Craig, did you have anything else that you want to share? Jeff, we're going to probably be concluding. Did you have any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Well, just on behalf of On behalf of RT, we appreciate everybody attending tonight. We appreciate your questions. We've made notes. Hopefully we answered some of your questions. I know there's still a number of things that we need to get worked out. And as we mentioned, I don't think I mentioned in this one that we plan to have the first vehicles in revenue service around late spring of 2023. So we have about a year and a half. We'll start getting the vehicles in, but we've got to do testing. We've got to do a lot of work on these, and we also have to get our platforms modified so that they can run on
Okay,
on
so
our system.
Gene has his hand up one more time.
Gene has his hand. Okay.
Go ahead, Gene.
No, actually, this is me.
Kathy.
I don't know if it's my vision or what, but I know you said that there was a 2-inch yellow line on each edge of the platform. And I cannot see it. I see the one or the ramp. I see the one in the front, but I don't see it on the sides.
Can we have,
Because this is the mock-up or?
Okay, so
let's have Dan.
is she able to see me right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this part right here is inside the train.
Yep.
So the door is going to be right here. So this is the actual ramp itself. This is the bridge plate that'll be on the platform. So there's a yellow line
Oh,
The exterior portion.
around the outside of the ramp.
okay. I thought what you were standing on was the ramp coming out.
Did you see that, Kathy?
Yeah.
Okay,
Did that
that makes
answer your
more sense.
question?
Yes, thank you.
you're welcome.
No, it's okay.
We're doing something for you.
Oh, we got Hercules here pushing. Well, that's as far in as it'll go.
I can push all the way in. I don't want to push all the way in. So as you can see, this threshold plate right here, as the ramp deploys, drops to give you your slope. So the ramp will come all the way out, and then it becomes flush, right? But the actual door is actually on top of this threshold, right? So that you won't see this part from the outside of the train. What you'll see is the ramp deploying, the bridge plate deploying out from the side of the train. Did that answer your question?
That, I believe that answers Kathy's question. I have Gail has his hand up. Go ahead, Gail.
And then you can tell it's about 4 inches smaller than the doorway.
I can't hear you, Gail. I'm sorry. Oh, you're muted. You need to
There.
there you go.
What's the possibility of making the inbound 12th and I accessible?
What's the possibility of making the inbound 12th and 9th accessible?
12th and I.
12th and I, I'm sorry.
We're still looking at the 12th and I station. We're probably have to make some modifications to that or move it because it ends up in the street right now. So that's part of the blue line, which is in another phase further down the road.
Did you catch that, Gail?
Yes, I did.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask once more. Are there any other questions on Zoom from anyone that's participating by Zoom? All right, thank you so much. I'm going to mute here, at least my speaker, and I believe that Jeff has one more question.
You want to ask your question so everybody can hear from home?
This is Jeff again. Dealing with the 8-inch raising, does that mean there's going to be a fence in between both sides, or because you're going to have a spot in the middle, it's considerably lower than you're going to have on the outside exterior ramps where we gain entry point? Is that understandable?
Are you talking about the back side of the platform? Yeah, the back side of the platform will have a railing. Yeah. Yes. There'll be a railing along the back. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I think that we are done with questions, and I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. We will have this information available through YouTube probably within the next day or so. I'm not exactly sure of the timing of that. And I think I'm taking public comment through the end of the month. So with that, we are at almost 7 o'clock. I want to thank you all for coming on in through Zoom and in person. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, George, Colleen, Jeff, and my partner in crime over here, Kathy. All right. And with that, I think we can say good night.
Okay.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.